leg in Munich. It hinges on that. Do you think they can recover the deficit then, Real?
Well, also negative sensation, not between the players, but maybe they are positive, but the fans, people don't consider that this Real Madrid with this performance of Mbappe, which is quite poor in the last game, also Vinicius, so people don't consider that it's a great Real Madrid to get this combat against the best maybe now team in Europe, which is Bayern Munich.
They've got the 2-1 advantage ahead of the second leg then in Germany. That is to come. A scenario then, if Real Madrid and Barcelona both fail to reach the semi-finals, of course, there will be a Spanish team in those last 4-1 with Atletico Madrid, if that was to be the case. But what's the feeling there if the big two don't make it?
Well, there was a positive mood here because let's say that more Spanish teams were qualified for quarterfinal than English. You know, here the competition is between La Liga and Premier League, which is the best one in Europe, in the world. And this positive mood is now becoming in a negative one because, as you say, probably Barcelona or Atletico and Real Madrid will be out of the semi-finals. So it's going to be quite difficult, even for getting the fifth position of the Champions League. The fifth one who is in La Liga goes to Champions League. That's going to be quite difficult because England and Bundesliga and Germany are better than Spain this year.
Just before you go, Juan, tell us why almost all the teams are playing in their retro kits this weekend. Why is La Liga doing that?
Yeah, it's the retro day, so retro journey. So all teams except Real Madrid, Rayo Vallecano, and Getafe, I believe, all these three, they wear a retro shirt to recuperate the memory of La Liga. So some of the most of the teams just wear these retro shirts from the 90s, from the 2008 or whatever. And it's quite funny, quite interesting, and then quite commercial.
Yeah, nice to see. Yeah, good touch from La Liga and from Spain. That's happening this weekend with almost all the teams in the top two divisions playing in their retro kits. Juan Castro from Marco, thank you very much. Lots to get through on Sports World today. After the Premier League, it's a big weekend of sport at Augusta. Rory McIlroy, the defending champion, 12 under par, heading into the third round, will be at the Augusta National later. And the big horse race, the Grand National at Aintree, with all the reaction to come in the final hour of Sports World. We're back after the news.
BBC News with Govinda Gill. The United States and Iran have begun negotiations in Pakistan aimed at ending the war in the Middle East. Pakistani government sources have told the BBC that trilateral direct talks between the US and Iran, with Pakistan mediating, are now underway. The negotiations come days after Washington and Tehran agreed a tenuous ceasefire that ended nearly 6 weeks of fighting. Kasra Naji from the BBC's Persian service is in Islamabad.
This is the first time that Iranians and Americans at this level has to be added, that they are talking to each other. On one side you have the Vice President of the United States, and on the other you have the Speaker of Parliament, who is increasingly a powerful man in Iran. So it's significant. It shows that there has been a change within Iran, and big change.
President Trump says the United States has begun clearing the Strait of Hormuz, the crucial waterway that Iran has largely blocked since the start of the war. But Iranian state media quoted Iran's military as denying that any US vessel had passed the strait. Reopening the strait is a key US demand, as the Iranian blockade has paralyzed energy exports from the Gulf. Iranian negotiators say they're in close contact with Lebanon to make sure the ceasefire is respected on all fronts. Israeli attacks on Hezbollah continue today, with Lebanon's health ministry saying at least 10 people had been killed. The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai, who is in Islamabad, said Tehran would continue to monitor the situation.
At the same time as the diplomatic apparatus is carrying out its work, We are closely monitoring the situation and are in close contact with the armed forces to ensure that even the smallest ceasefire violation is reported. Wherever necessary, the defenders of the homeland will respond firmly and swiftly.
A temporary ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine to mark Orthodox Easter has entered into force. The 32-hour truce is intended to last until the end of Sunday. President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed the hope it could be the start of real movement towards peace, but Kyiv also warned that it would immediately respond if Russia violated the truce. Here's Sarah Rainsford.
Frontline troops we've spoken to here have low expectations of this Easter ceasefire. They see it as a show of piety by Vladimir Putin, who displays no real desire to stop the war he started, and they expect multiple violations of the ceasefire on the ground. Ukraine says what it really wants is a long-lasting truce, so it can negotiate a proper peace deal mediated by the US. But those talks have been on hold now for weeks.
BBC News.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Lee James. Welcome back to Sports World on a Premier League Saturday. We'll be back in West London very soon for the second half of our commentary game, where it is Brentford 1, Everton 1. But the Grand National at Aintree is well underway now. They've just jumped the 7 of 30 fences. We'll have all the reaction from that famous horse race in the next hour of Sports World. And we've got Augusta National, the events on the third round of the Masters Golf. The defending champion Rory McIlroy heads into the third round with the biggest halfway lead in the tournament's history, 12 under par. That's 6 shots ahead of the Americans Sam Burns and Patrick Reed. McIlroy, though, says he's not getting ahead of himself, even though he's made history with his score so far.
Not something I thought about, certainly not something I envisioned walking onto the 12th tee this afternoon. So there's still a lot of work to do, though. Look, it's great. I've put myself in the best position possible going into the weekend, but I know more than probably anyone else what this golf course can do to you. So just need to keep my wits about me and play the weekend like I've just played the last 2 days.
Yeah, sensational second round from Rory McIlroy. Play is underway, but the leaders won't tee off until later. So we'll be at the Augusta National in the next hour of Sports World. In the rugby union, England lead Ireland by 33 points to 5, coming towards the end of that opening match of the Women's Six Nations. And after a victory for France as well, we'll reflect on the opening day of that competition. As I mentioned, the Grand National from Aintree, also the Monte Carlo Tennis Masters. Will we get another Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz final there? And we'll look ahead to the return of the two-time heavyweight world champion Tyson Fury. He fights at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium later this Saturday. So then let's head to West London. Let's head to our commentary game for the second half. Brentford against Everton, with the former Australian international Mark Schwarzer alongside Ian Dennis.
Coyote, Collins, Vandenberg and Lewis Potter. Jensen and Yarmouk with Nelson, Ouattara, Thiago and Sharda. Red and white striped shirts and black shorts. And Brentford in this second half will be playing from right to left as we look. As far as Everton are concerned, in their all royal blue, Pickford is in goal as we're back underway. And then you've got O'Brien, Branthwaite, Tarkowski and Mikolenko as a back four. Gay and Garner in the midfield with Dewsbury Hall, McNeil and Jai and Beto. So 1-1 between Brentford and Everton. Burnley and Brighton and Hove Albion is the other game taking place at 3 o'clock. That's currently live on Sports Extra 2. As Lewis Potter threads the ball through and Nelson trying to turn comes up against Tarkowski, and Tarkowski will clear. Chested forward then by Collins. Just bends the one knee. Sharda will carry the ball away from his opposite number 7, McNeil. But Everton now with a turnover, and Gay finds Beto. Beto runs away from Lewis Potter, finds Gay in the midfield, who passes the ball to O'Brien, the right back, and infield now to Garner. Garner towards it. McNeil on the stretch. All out of play for a Brentford throw as the two teams settle down here in the second half. Grimsby Town have got a second goal against Crewe in League 2, and Blackpool now leading Peterborough United by 2-1 in League 1.